I want to talk about beauty and how to appreciate and cultivate your beauty, if that is of interest to you, without it becoming a source of insecurity or anxiety. I think the only way to have a healthy relationship with beauty is to be non attached or unattached. Non attachment does not mean indifferent or passive. I'm not Buddhist, but I will be pulling from a Buddhist source for a definition as it fits the concept of what I believe in. Quote, the type of non-attachment that's being talked about in Buddhist thought has less to do with what you own or with what you hold on to versus how that holds on to you. So, for instance, I heard a recent quote that said, non-attachment doesn't mean we don't own things. It means we don't allow things to own us. That, in a nutshell, is the type of non-attachment that we're talking about. A Zen master put it pretty simply. He said, everything breaks. Attachment is our unwillingness to face that reality, end quote. And that is from secularbuddhism.com. I think you need to have a balance between reaching or maintaining your own beauty standards and understanding that there will be times when you are not your ideal. If you're someone who has clear skin usually, but experiences a breakout, you won't spiral or feel too bad about it. And let's try to figure out what's going on, what's triggering this, and how do we fix it? Because acne is a symptom of something off balance, and you can work on the root causes and or manage the symptoms. Stress only exacerbates all problems. Or if you like your body at a certain weight and then you gain or lose a noticeable amount because you didn't follow your normal diet or exercise routine, it's not a big deal. You know you can get back on track. Another thing is that the outside world will sometimes impose itself on you without you having much of a say about it. Obviously, our physical beings are exposed to the world all the time. So if someone has an accident and ends up scarred or disfigured, it's human and expected that they will grieve this drastic change in appearance, even if it's temporary, like maybe a broken nose. I'm not here to moralize and push the idea that someone has to mentally overcome negative feelings about their appearance and feel beautiful again, blah, blah. I don't like when others tell people how to feel and impose positive thinking on them. It's very entitled. You have a right to your own emotions. All I'm saying is that if you are someone who values your looks, or is trying to improve your looks, or has a disordered relationship with your face or body, keep in mind that what you want, what you value, may not always be in your control at any given time. And while we're talking about being quote unquote uglier, don't get attached to the idea of being ugly, because that is a reality that can also change just as much as beauty, right? Because things are always changing. And negative attachments are a tendency that a lot of people have, whether they know it or not. I know in this society, people will tell you that beauty fades in part because there's a media fetish, especially, and there's also like a male fetish for teenagers and early 20-somethings. But, ugly fades too. There are plenty of people who glow up, even without plastic surgery, Botox, or fillers when they are in their 30s, 40s, and above. The way your appearance changes over time is just not an inevitable biological sequence of events, if that makes sense. It's also a reflection of your environment and your behavioral patterns. Think about the transformations I'm sure all of us have seen, if not in person, at least in pictures, of people who have overcome drug and alcohol addictions. It's amazing how positively the human body can change when you detach yourself from these corrosive substances in your life. Another aspect of not being attached to beauty is to not be attached to the opinions of others. You can absolutely enjoy compliments, attention, opportunities, and rewards. I encourage all of that without needing that validation or depending on it for your self-esteem. A lack of attachment means you don't internalize the indifference, criticisms, or even strange comments of others. If you made it this far, please comment below and tell me if it's been your experience. But something I've noticed is that attractive women with something unusual or not considered ideal, even like a big forehead, if they have something like that about their appearance, they can get a lot of weird, disparaging comments that are not just unsolicited, but they're unprompted. I've seen it come out of nowhere. Like, if you told someone the things strangers or coworkers have said, they would think you were joking or lying because it's so silly. And that in itself is a sign that those people think you're attractive. Because most adults tend to just not say anything about people they don't think are pretty unless there's like a reason to, you know what I mean? But if you don't have attachment to the opinions of others, even if whatever they say bothers you at first, because this is a journey and you don't need to be perfect and free from typical human reactions all the time, it doesn't weigh on you. You're not trying to average out the commentary from randoms to figure out your objective score and your place on the beauty scale, because who cares? That doesn't exist. With age, I could objectively look at some things and some of the negative comments said about me, and I can see what they mean and not be offended by it. At this point, you can say whatever you want about my looks, and I'll either agree or disagree and not feel any way. So basically, to close, unattachment, as far as beauty and just in general, in my opinion, is the key to freedom. Like, it's just a way to exist, personally. Like, you would want to aspire to be in a place where you are not attached to anything. That's something I naturally progressed to with maturity, even if I didn't use the word. And, and on the topic of beauty, unless a certain beauty standard is part of your job, like you are a high fashion model, don't turn it into one. Don't make it another struggle on top of any other struggle you have in life. That's part of being a human for most of us. All right, thank you so much for listening. Tell me what you think.